Welcome back to another Money Making Monday. This is a vintage edition, and hopefully that vintage music got you in the mood. How many of you remember that song called Popcorn? It was one of the first songs to use a Moog synthesizer, and it is a real song. So hopefully that is getting you in the vintage frame of mind to enjoy this video. Thanks for coming back for another video, and if you are new here, the sales in this video come from my Facebook group. Every Monday we have a thread called Money Making Monday where sellers can post what they found, where they found it, how much they paid for it, and show us how much it sold for, so you can see the proof that these items actually sell. So thanks to everyone who participates. I think we're up to about 500 to 600 comments a week now, so these are chosen at random, and I try to give as many people a chance as possible to be included in the video, but there's just so many sales. So if you want to see more, go to my Facebook group and spend some time looking through all of the sales. Okay, so we are going to get started here with Tina Wozniak, who you may also know as the catalog lady who sells all kinds of vintage catalogs, but this is a different item. She says she found this in our barn, so it was free. It's been listed for several months. Took an offer of $17, and it is an Ohio 1945 license plate. And I just want to throw this out there, Tina, because I see you posting all these things that you find in your barn. And I would just love to come shop in your barn because you have so many interesting things there. And I just think that would be heaven for me to come shopping in your barn. So we need to talk about that. All right, next up is Kimberly Sunker, who sold these Corel coffee mugs. She said they were free because I bought some other items at a garage sale. They sold in 8 hours. This is a set of 4 vintage Corel Corning USA mugs, robin egg blue. And that's the color I use in my kitchen, so those would match perfectly. Next up is Vanessa Williamson Bailey, who got this free. It sold for full asking price of $27.99 plus shipping. It is a vintage Fenton glass hobnail fairy lamp light candle holder in amber yellow. And yes, that's what those little bumps are called on glass. Hobnail. Well, it can be on other things too, but that's the name for those bumps. Next up is Christy Kukal. She said, I was throwing these out because I saw how old they were. Looked them up and saw they were collectible. Had a lot of 7 listed for $34.99. Buyer offered me $20 plus shipping for these 2. So I took it and made another listing for the other 5. Had listed maybe 2 weeks, if that. These are vintage McCormick green top glass spice jars. Now, question for those of you who know about spice jar collecting. Are these desired because they're glass and they have the green top? Because they are still in grocery stores. So is that what's making them desirable, is the fact that they're glass? Or is there something else? I'm just curious because now I'm looking for these. Audrey says, nostalgia. My grandmother and mom had these and used them all the time. So everybody, check your pantry. If you have these old ones, the buyers want them for the jar, not for what's inside. They're probably not going to use the spices because if they're vintage, they're not going to be any good anyway. But there is a special rack for the McCormick spices, and these glass jars fit in that rack. So that may be why people want them, is because they are refilling the jars with fresh spices and just using that vintage rack. I would love any more information on that if you know. Okay, moving on to Jessica. Doing a partnership with a man who has 2 warehouses full of stuff. I started with shirts. Don't know what he paid, but this sold for $30. This is a vintage Tropicana Hawaiian shirt, brown and orange, 1960s. So this went for $30. Now we have Jerry Jackson. She says, husband cleaned his home office. I would have never known to sell pencils if not for groups like this and YouTube. Full price sale in 2 days. Lot of 89 new vintage pencils. And then she's got several brand names. So, yep, this takes me back to school days when you always had to have that number 2 pencil. So everybody, look in your office, look in your desk drawers, see if you have any pencils you can sell in big lots like this. Morgan Parker bought at a garage sale last summer, just got around to listing. There were no comps on eBay, so I found a price on a secondhand sports website. Paid $1, sold in about 2 months for full price plus shipping. This is a Mizuno vintage baseball glove. She paid $1 and it sold for $34.95. Okay, now we have Beverly Butera. Paid $1 at an estate sale last winter, sold for full price. This is a vintage Friendly Finland poster, and it sold for $34.99. Next up is Jill Stanton. We went to a huge free sale in June, and we are still rolling in the profits from it. This was listed a few weeks at $39.99. I sent out a best offer, and it's sold. This is a Kitty Kitty Pocket Critter Wine Toy, 1993. So it was free, and she sold it for $34.99. Megan LaRose bought at Goodwill for $5, took 4 to 5 months to sell for $39.97. This is a vintage Via Ancona white enamel whistling tea kettle. $5, sold for $39.97, and that is cool looking with the ivy wrapped around it and the handle. It's just very interesting looking. I can see that adding some character to somebody's kitchen. Okay, Diana Juhan. No, this is not the Scooby-Doo VW bus. That's what I thought when I first looked at it. She paid $4.99 at a thrift store and sold for full price of $39.99 plus shipping after 9 days. This is a vintage Volkswagen bus van 10, meaning it's made of metal, with surfboards. $4.99, and she sold it for $39.99. Laura Harmon. She has a story with this, so let's hear it. She says, almost didn't make this sale. It was listed for 5 days. Solds were in the $80 range. Mine is missing the first volume, so I put it at $65 or best offer. Send an offer of $40 to a watcher. Shipping is $13. She thought it was $40 with free shipping. I messaged her kindly, letting her know offers are only on the price of the item, not the shipping, and asked if she wanted to cancel. She said no. She needs them to homeschool her grandkids, and this set comes highly recommended. I purchased it 2 years ago for 75 cents each at an estate sale, and they've been sitting in my profit pile. I ended up refunding the lady half of the shipping because she actually was really nice and I wanted to make the sale. Shipping it out tomorrow. She's super happy and appreciative. This is a vintage 1971 set of My Book House by Olive Miller. So I like how Laura negotiated that because she had a buyer and you don't want them to get away. So if you can work with people on these things, you can get these items shipped out of your home, like Laura was looking at this for 2 years, and make some money on it and have a happy buyer. All right, next up is Eileen Cole. And we know her as the book lady, but here is a fun game. She said, I got this board game as part of an estate sale bundle and paid maybe $1 for it. Sold for $41.50 plus shipping, took a week to sell. This is 1988 Milton Bradley Heartthrob Dream Date Boyfriend board game. That is very vintage looking. $1, sold it for $41.50. Now we have Margie DeMolina. Bought this Disney princess doll at online auction for $18, includes shipping fees, and sold in 4 days for best offer of $49.95 plus shipping. This is a Disney Store Princess Esmeralda from Hunchback, and it sold for $49.95. Now we have Samantha Gray. Paid $1 at a garage sale and sold for a full asking price of $49.99 plus buyer paid shipping in just under a month. This is a Pictionary game, first edition, 1985, original, never opened. And there's some comments here. Rhonda said, I just passed on one of these today. And Samantha says, I almost did too. Actually went back after I checked the comps. And then Linda says, I wonder if they are buying it to play or to keep wrapped up for resale someday. Yeah, who knows? But I remember when this game first came out, I was college age and people would have Pictionary parties. And I remember when it was my turn, I mean, I just suck at drawing. I just couldn't do anything. I would try to draw something and then just stand there frantically pointing at it like they're supposed to read my mind. But all my artsy friends would win because they could draw stuff. And so personally, I did not care for that game. I did not think it was fun. But now we know it's collectible. So if you see this first edition, especially if it's still shrink wrapped, that's a good sale. Moving on to some jewelry. Tanya Gibson sold this item. She bought it for $3 at a church rummage sale last summer, but didn't list it until around January of this year. I've made offers and declined lowballs for 6 months. I made an offer for about $10 off the other day, and a few hours later, someone bought it for full price of $49.99 plus shipping. And this is a beautiful vintage moonstone brooch with rhinestones. So $3 and it sold for $49.99. Another fun item. Lily received this a year ago from a family moving out of their cabin. Vintage purse which had a cute little mirror wrapped in wax paper. It was free and it sold for $50 and buyer pays shipping. This is a vintage House of Rosenfeld silver leather evening purse. So a free item that went for $50. Now we've got Marie Hamilton. Goodwill find of $12 sold for full price going to Australia. Shipping was more than the item, even with eBay Standard International. This is a vintage 1998 tin Chi signed Ladybug art glass lamp. And Kimberly said, so interesting what people will buy. Nice sale. And Marie responded, thank you. Her daughter had the same lamp but it broke. So that's what's going on with a lot of these vintage items is people are trying to replace items they had years ago that broke or were lost or were damaged in a fire or a flood. And you just can't put a price on nostalgia. Maybe this lamp was in this little girl's room her entire childhood and she just loved it, and the mother's going to give it to her as a gift. You don't ever know. So this is why vintage items are so lucrative, is because they are limited in number. It's really hard, I think, to run an eBay business when you're ordering thousands of the same thing from China and trying to compete with everybody else selling whatever that item is. Just go out into the world and find this vintage stuff that's just waiting for us to buy it. And then things like this happen where it's a sentimental item. It creates a feeling of nostalgia, which is very emotional. And these items have great value for that reason. And your bulk, wholesale consumer items are never going to invoke that feeling of nostalgia and emotion that these types of items do. And that's why I do what I do and am a picker and will always be, is because I love that aspect of the business. Finding something someone threw away or donated or practically gave away at their garage sale, and then you find someone on the other side of the world who is looking for that exact thing, and you get to be the person to make that connection. It's just very rewarding, and that's why I've been doing this now almost 20 years. Okay, moving on to Joan. Paid $2 at a rummage sale, sold in just 2 days. Vintage 1980s Micro Machines lot. And whenever I hear Micro Machines, I always think of the Home Alone movie where Kevin puts all his Micro Machines out so that the bad guys will slip and fall. And my son never had these. He never had Micro Machines. He had Matchbox cars and Hot Wheels and all that. But for some reason, that is just etched in my brain. If it's in a TV show or a movie, I will remember it. Okay, now we have Marie Woodhull, who sold this Granny Square handmade crochet Afghan. She paid $3.99 at Salvation Army, took a few weeks to sell, and it sold for $55. And then Laura is commenting on, I like your keyword, Roseanne. It does look just like the one on their couch. So that's where this is coming from. People like this blanket for this reason. It's in the Roseanne show. Again, there's some nostalgia. So Marie's title was Vintage Granny Square Afghan Handmade Crochet Throw Quilt Blanket Roseanne 66 by 45. And I guess you could argue this is right on the verge of being keyword spamming, but I wouldn't say it is keyword spamming because it is in this show. And vintage items sell because of their vintage history. And this was in this TV show for many years. It was right there in the background. So it's exactly like the one shown here. Well, obviously no Granny Square Afghan is going to be exactly like another because they're all handmade. But it's the same type of items. So I'm quite sure that people are on eBay using the keyword Roseanne to find Afghans like this. They may not know the name is Granny Square. They may just have seen it in the show and they want to buy one just like it. So that was a great sale. And these have been on my BOLO list forever. And again, they are vintage, so they're limited in number, and they're going to hold their value. Next up is Myra. She paid $10 for all and sold on auction for $59. Just wasn't sure what price to put on them for buy it now, so I let the auction dictate. I am not unhappy with the results. This is a set of 3 small mid-century modern fiberglass lampshades. Okay, now we have Peggy Chandler. She paid $1 at an estate sale just before quarantine. Sold for $60. Handmade Simply Shift dress. Came with a black leather belt. This mom saved tons of her children's clothes from baby years through high school, most in wonderful condition. Bought so much, but have sold so much too, meaning Peggy bought a whole lot at this sale. It was so much fun. If you haven't given estate sales a good try, you need to. They're most always air-conditioned, neat, and organized. Most entertain offers or make a reasonable price for a group of things. I absolutely love them. This estate sale company gets to know you and they make you a better price. So, all of that, and the item is a vintage newsprint dress. Very unusual looking. She paid $1 and it sold for $60. Okay, Cindy. Had in my closet since 1998. Free to me, sold for full asking price of $68.88 to a buyer in the UK. This is an Olympic beret type hat from the Nagano Olympics 1998. And it was free, and she sold it for $68.88. Next up is Sharon. Bought this Tupperware canister set for $5 at Goodwill in February. Sold this morning for full price of $69.95 plus shipping. This is a vintage Tupperware canister set with Cervalier lids, daffodil yellow. $5, and she sold it for $69.95. And now we have a vintage t-shirt, Diane Nielsen, found at the Goodwill bins. Paid about 50 cents. Sold in a week for asking price of $75. Vintage 90s USA American Thunder Panther. There you can see $75 plus shipping. So those of you that have the bins, keep the faith because people are finding all kinds of great things there. Don't assume it's all picked over. Deborah Green bought this little Coach pouch at a thrift store for $4. I could tell it was vintage, but it felt brand new. Comps were hard to find, but I saw one sold new with bag and box and paperwork for $110, so I threw this price out there. It sold that afternoon. So this is a vintage Coach lime green leather slim flat zip pouch case. $4, and she sold it for $89.99. Now we've got Jeff and Becca Fox. Paid $3 for a whole box of these vintage Titanware dishes at a yard sale. These 2 pieces sold in a couple of weeks for full asking price to the same buyer. She paid shipping. I haven't even listed the rest of the dishes. So you can see there 2 pieces sold for $95.90, and this is only part of what she paid $3 for. Terry Wilcox got this game as a part of a max sold auction last week. Paid $35 for the lot that had a number of other items in it. Already had listed and sold another game from this lot for $40, so this is all profit now. This game had comps of around $125, but the box was damaged, so I priced it a little lower and sold for full asking price after around 5 days, $105. This is a Pokemon Master Trainer board game, so it's not even an electronic item. It is a board game Pokemon item. It's sold for over $100. Dawn McMaster bought this on vacation thrifting for $15, and it sold overnight for $105.85. Vintage Orange Hall Superior Kitchenware Teapot. When I first glanced at this, I thought it might be Fiesta ware, but no, it's something different. Hall Superior Kitchenware. So remember that. Now we've got Sharon again. Bought this vintage Vitamix for $10 at a yard sale over 3 years ago. Thought I would keep it, but only used it one time. Listed in May for $160. Took an offer of $125. Buyer paid $60 to ship to California. It weighed 16 pounds. Great profit, but a bear to ship. Would sell again with local pickup only. This is a vintage Vitamix 3600 blender mixer stainless steel pitcher. So it's got a lot of pieces to it. And she sold it for $125 and paid $10 at a garage sale 3 years ago. That's some real patience, waiting for something to sell. But this is a good item, and that's what you have to ask yourself if you've had something a long time is, would I still buy this for resale today? And if you would, then just keep trying. Now we've got Mary Ramsey, purchased at a garage sale in a box of packed up salt and pepper shakers, sight unseen. The seller didn't want to be bothered with unboxing, and I bought 7 boxes for $10 at the end of the sale. I have unpacked a couple of boxes, but this will be my winter project. Sold a second time around on auction, so 2 weeks after listing. I priced according to a comp prior sale of a similar set. This is a rare vintage anthropomorphic baseball glove salt and pepper shaker series. And I will tell you, I had to do 3 takes to get that right because that is a big word. What does it mean? It means a non-human thing that is made to look human. So it's got the face drawn on it. Anyway, she sold these for $129.99. Next up is Deborah Peltier. Bought this for $11 at auction. Took less than a month to sell for $153. This is a large gravel art hanging, 1960s, wine and cheese. Wow, $11, sold it for $153. And next up we have the reigning champion of pots and pans, Ken McNamara, the pots and pans guy. Pieced together this set over time. Sold in 1 week with no watchers and not many views. Kudos to my wife who cleaned and polished them real nice. This is vintage Farberware stainless steel aluminum clad 16-piece pans and pots with lids. And yes, they look wonderful in the photo. And no stray or weird reflections. That's really hard photographing shiny things. And Ken, I would like to know if we can see some pictures of how you store your pots and pans because you are forever piecing together sets. So I'm imagining this room with just all these random pots and pans, and obviously you have some kind of system of how you're piecing these together. So I would love if you could share that with us, not to single you out in this video or anything, but I'm very interested in how your system works because you pop up on a lot of these videos, the $100 sales, and now we have a vintage sale, and this is obviously a skill you have, collecting these sets, putting them together, and then selling them for great money. So if there's anything you would like to share, I can certainly include that in a future video. So to recap, he spent $30 and sold these for $179.71. Next up is Gail Murphy. Paid $20 a month ago for a rainbow vacuum with multiple attachments. One attachment sold for $40 already. This is the second sale. One listing remains. This is a D4C Rainbow Vacuum Cleaning System. $20, and this sold for $199.99, but it was only part of what her $20 paid for. Next up is Sarah Grant, whose t-shirt is in the thumbnail photo of this video. Got this vintage Harley Davidson t-shirt at a local thrift store for $2.99. sold it on a 7-day auction for $222.50. Vintage Harley-Davidson 3D emblem 1990 t-shirt, Fort Worth, Texas. And Sharon says, that's really cool. I sell a lot of Harley-Davidson stuff and have never seen a shirt like this. Nice. So if you look up the listing, you can look at it's not a transfer on the front, it's actually a 3D emblem. So it's textured. Very interesting item. I've never even heard of such a thing. But $3, and it sold for $222.50. Okay, we are up to our third place runner-up in this video. Julie Gambino purchased leftover jewelry from a garage sale for $20. Took a couple of months. This is a vintage 10-carat yellow gold ring, men's black onyx, and it sold for $225. She got this in a bundle of jewelry for $20. So I'm finding that very interesting now when I'm out looking for more of these bundles of things, because at least in my thrift stores, they get so much of this little stuff. They just put it together really fast and wrap it up in a bundle and get it out on the sales floor. And they just don't have time to go through every single little thing. Although Julie got this at a garage sale, the thrift stores, their objective is to move that stuff out of there. So I do see a lot of people on social media talking about how their thrift stores don't have anything. They're putting everything online, but there's just too much stuff. In fact, I need to post a picture of this, but one thrift store I go to, their entire parking lot is full of tractor trailers, full of merchandise to go into the store, because the overflow is just incredible right now. They can't get it all in the store fast enough. So I counted the other day when I was there, and it was 11 tractor trailer loads of merchandise just sitting there waiting to be processed. So I guess it depends on your location, but I don't see an end to this anytime soon. And great if Goodwill and thrift stores are putting their items online, but they just can't catch everything. There's too much stuff. Okay, second place is Shannon Matson, and I may have included this item in a recent $100 video, but here it is again. My memory fails me on this one. I know I've seen this before, but she sold this on auction for $305. Paid $8 at Goodwill a few weeks ago. I thought a bidding war would happen for this rare design, but it did not. So it sold on the low end of the sold prices, unfortunately. Still a great return on investment, but I think I will stick with buy it now. So this is a vintage Shawnee pottery pig cookie jar. And there's some comments here. Tina who says, did you ship it to Ohio? And Shannon said, no, it went to Missouri. Why? And Tina said, I live in the town where it was produced and in the house of the woman that designed it. So talk about a small world. And Tina, who's having the conversation here, is the one with the barn, the very first item in this video, the license plate. So Tina lives in the town where it was made and in the house of the woman who designed this item. Isn't that freaky? What a small world. Amazing. So anyway, bottom line, $8 for this item, sold for $305. And finally, our first place winner is Brandy Jones. Bought this item off Facebook Marketplace for $15. Sold in a little over 24 hours for best offer plus shipping for $640. This is a vintage strawberry shortcake orange blossom berrykin doll perfume. Rare. I will say it's rare if it sold for $640. So Shannon asked her, did you know it was rare before you bought it? Brandy did not answer, but I would like to know, Brandy, if you're watching this, if you could fill us in. But anyway, bought off Facebook Marketplace for $15, sold for $640 in just one day. So pay attention to what's on your Facebook Marketplace. These things are everywhere, and Facebook Marketplace is where you get rid of stuff quick. But if you have the skills and the patience, you can put it on eBay and really make some good money. Okay, that is the end of this vintage edition of Money Making Monday. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to everyone who participates, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a profitable and productive day on eBay.